So what needs to change? What the first line says there is that we need, in my opinion, more interdisciplinary input, right? So that Dutch commission that I mentioned had a number of physicians from all sorts of different fields, including emergency medicine. They actually see people coming in with the bad stuff from psychedelics. They had lawyers, they had public health administrators. This was a much more interdisciplinary team than the FDA's advisory committee, which was composed of, I think, 14 or 13 psychiatric researchers and one statistician. No psychotherapists. Nobody on the committee even did psychotherapy. So I think we need to sort of bring in different voices. And another call that the Dutch are leading with is the idea of doing naturalistic studies and actually figuring out a way, how can we bring in data that is not coming out of strict randomized controlled trials, right? And maybe even asking consumers and users, people who are actually going out there and doing this, right? We just write this off as anecdotal information. And on the one hand, we do need to recognize that there is a hierarchy of the quality of evidence. And at the same time, as has been alluded to, there are people going out into the field all over the world and engaging with the therapeutic use of psychedelics. And that is not meaningless data. And I think we need to figure out a way to bring that into the way that we understand how psychedelics are ultimately going to play out in the clinic, even if that's not going to be the sole proprietor of these therapies. I mentioned this just because the Senate just passed the Halt Fentanyl Act yesterday. Regardless of what one's opinions on the drug war are, there's a provision in this that would make the research far less costly and more easy with Schedule I drugs. And I can say, as someone doing this research, studying a Schedule I agent is insanely time-consuming and cumbersome, and there are so many different federal agencies that you have to deal with. It makes the research very difficult, which biases the playing field in favor of these big pharmaceutical companies rather than the academic medical centers for doing, I think, pragmatic and innovative forms of trials to study this stuff. And I think, on the one hand, I'm certainly very disappointed, like many, that the FDA did not approve MDMA. On the other hand, I don't want to leave the audience with the sense that I think psychedelics are risk-free. I think the psychological risks are substantial. They may be not particularly common, particularly in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, but they really can leave people with some pretty deep negative experiences, and people can really get opened up and unraveled with these things. So I don't know that we're ready as a society to embrace psychedelic treatments. And this may give us a little bit more time to get a better sense of some of the risks and how this is actually going to play out. Unfortunately, it also means that people are going to continue to suffer and not be able to get treatments, at least here in the United States.